It's me, it's the indie comic book guy. Today we're gonna do something a little different. Well, not that different. I haven't reviewed a comic book on this channel in a while, and when Tyler Carpenter, who many of you know from the Try and Talk videos here on YouTube, did a crowdfunding campaign for this book right here, The Entity, I hopped on it. Why? Because he gives very good tips on creating comics. So I want to see if those tips, if he followed those tips himself. And what I've noticed even before I backed the campaign was he made a series of videos. He would talk about this book and how he's had it on his laptop for the last 3 years. That kind of concerned me. It's like, why haven't you released it? You have an audience, you have fans, well, you have a completed book. What's the holdup? He's done other crowdfunding campaigns, like Demons, which wasn't successful. Everything we do isn't going to be successful. I get that, especially in the age of crowdfunding. But this one was successful. But it did concern me that he kept mentioning that he had the book on his laptop for the last 3 years and didn't do anything with it. So I backed it, got it in the mail, was it last week, and it's Tyler Carpenter and Joe Wong. Not familiar with the artist. Anyway, basically this is his attempt to write a sci-fi story. And in the back of the book, let me just explain what's going on. Basically, in the back of the book, he does a making of type thing in the back of the book. Basically, it's explaining his theme, his thought processes, all that good stuff. It's basically excuses why the book is what it is. Overall, the story, standard post-apocalyptic future. Earth has been destroyed, chick's in a spaceship, and next thing you know, she's been up there for years, no memory of her past, mind wiped, all that good stuff. Guy shows up, built muscles, all that, and basically tell her she's been lied to, he's a prisoner. She ends up helping him. They go to Earth. Surprise, surprise, the Earth hasn't been destroyed. Zombies. Yes, zombies. Turns out there was a virus, everybody got infected, they either died or mutated into these zombie-like creatures. There's a rebellion, they escape the Earth in the same ship, they find another settlement while they're looking for this entity, they fight the entity. Basically, it's revealed that the guy is her husband, he loves her, and he conveniently mind wiped himself, and yeah. Oh, there was I forgot to mention, there was other space stations where apparently everyone got killed. According to this guy's name's Aaron, her name's Camille. Aaron said they all committed suicide instead of coming with him. He's not the most trusted source for information. Long story short, this Aaron guy who's built like the Hulk, he mind wiped his wife, created a virus, destroyed most of humanity, apparently started this entity AI program, which basically was meant to save people, but kind of natural selection type thing. What can't this guy do? He's a scientist, he's a computer nerd, he is a freedom fighter, he's built, looks like Rambo and stuff. He can mind wipe people. All this basically just make his wife the so-called savior of humanity and teach them love and all this stuff. Yeah, that's the entity. And if I spoiled it for you, thank me later. They killed an entity which was hooked up to some Casio keyboards and Commodore 64 computers. It's basically fan fiction in comic book form. from a writing standpoint. Um, and I brung up the whole making of thing in the back of the book and how he shelved it for 3 years. Basically, he took a passive aggressive approach to making excuses why he knew this book really wasn't that good. He knew it. This was just a cash grab for money. That's it. It was a cash grab. He needed the cash for whatever reason, and he finally decided to release it. Let's look at some of the artwork. The artwork isn't the best. It's kind of sketchy. A lot of it does. The pencils don't look finished, and the inks are just basic. The inker didn't bother to try and add to the production value of the book. They're on the ground right here. I don't know if you can see this. Looks like they're in the sky. That page is blank, just black for no reason. It wasn't one of those epic things where somebody went unconscious or nothing like that. It was just black, just to be black. Everybody's claiming to be the entity, but the entity is just, again, this is the entity. This is the multi-million-dollar AI system. It's hooked up to gateway computers and all this and that. This is supposed to be in the future. Like, if you can create a virus that'll turn most of the people into zombies or kill them and create this AI system, this is the best. It's horrible. I understand why Tyler shelved this book. I also understand why he didn't really want you to see this book. Look at this. And when I mentioned on Facebook that I was going to make a video and review this book, again, oh, I made that book 3 years ago. I've grown as a creator since then. That's a weird response. And so far it's been his only response. Both on his channel, in the book itself. His excuse is he made the book 3 years ago. I'm sorry, I grew up reading comics. I still love comics that I read 30 years ago. I still love comics that I read at age 12, and some of them I still reread. So using the excuse you made a project 3 years ago doesn't fly. That's like saying Shakespeare sucks just because it was written thousands of years ago. It's like saying the Bible sucks because it was written, well, and rewritten and all that stuff thousands of years ago. You can't make excuses as to why you released a bad product. Just own up to it. Hey, I need some cash. I had to send on my laptop, decided to release it. Nothing wrong with that. I respect the honesty. But this is the danger, Tyler, and I hope you're listening. Because I know you hate reviews. Well, you hate reviewing books on your channel. And when I talked to you about it, because I was concerned, I was like, hey, a lot of people don't, when you review their books, or I review their books, they don't share their videos. You were like, yeah, that's why I don't do reviews on my channel. Fair enough. Fair enough. But if you're going to give advice to creators, reviewing books does help them. So hopefully this review I'm doing will help you. Writing wise, this plot is all over the place. The dialogue, let's get to the dialogue. Let's talk about the dialogue. Its purpose was to cure imperfections in humans that would ultimately make us the perfect species, as if we weren't already. One day the scientists who created it thought they had it. He was told many times not to test it on human subjects because it wasn't ready. His pride got the better of him, and he tested it on a human subject. The human was infected and became what we call nobodies. Now, this Aaron guy, he's telling the Camille this story in these panels. Obviously, they did not have an editor on this book. I'll read that sentence again.
The human was infected and became what we call nobodies. The nobody destroyed the lab and infected everyone else. Because of the crisis, the lab blew up in an intense explosion, releasing the virus and ultimately allowing it to spread throughout the planet. We call it the Macmillan virus because of the doctor who created it, the doctor who spread it. He had his arm eaten off and was never heard from again. Human weakness is the reason we are in this situation we are living in. Human weakness is what allowed the entity to take over, to control us.
He's talking about himself, but this dialogue is very cringy. So, story-wise, again, all over the place, dialogue. Please listen to the way people talk in real life. Read the dialogue out loud. Please take these things to heart. If you had this book on your hard drive for 3 years, you have 3 years to edit this dialogue, to correct it, to bring in an editor, or bring in a co-writer to punch up the dialogue, to make it make more sense, to give it punch, life. No. You have a crazy guy who apparently can do anything, who is going around killing people on space stations only to save his wife, who he mind wiped, and tell her, oh, you get to save what's left of humanity and teach them how to love. What? What? And this is supposed to be the bad guy, but it's the husband all along? I don't get this. Art-wise, again, very sketchy. To the artist's credit, he was given a lot to deal with. He had to create a world where these characters lived and interacted. But let's see if you can see this. You can tell the artist, his heart wasn't in it. And you can always tell when an artist isn't in love with a project, because they will do the bare minimum. They will get the pages done. They're not going to give you that extra detail. They're not going to bring the characters to life. They're not going to do it. And apparently they can make cyborgs and all kind of things in this world, but no.
You are the one who will be able to show them how to truly love. My name is Camille Macmillan. I am the entity.
That's the end of the book. Nothing in this book screams love or compassion. None of it. None of it. Tyler, if you're going to continue in the direction you're going right now with Draw and Talk, you have to own up to your own mistakes. None of us are perfect. Did I expect this book to be perfect? No. What I did expect was for you to take some of the lessons that you preach in your own videos to heart. Because you can't tell people and advise people to do this and this and this. You ignored everything in every one of your videos with this book. You had 3 years to fix it. You chose not to. Obviously, you didn't care enough to fix those things, and you had 3 years to do so. You failed comic books with this project. You failed. And sometimes we need a L to humble ourselves, to learn. And Tyler, we've given you some passes. When you had your mom in the chat rooms and you ambushed Terrence, was it Baker from ICC, we gave you a pass. Not much of a pass, but we gave you a pass. But people, they started looking at you a little different. When the whole Whisper Network thing happened, people started looking at you a little different also. So, if that's who you truly are, if the real you is finally coming out, and this is the real you, you may lose a fan or two. Just saying. If you're going to advise people on how to create a comic book, make a good comic book. Otherwise, your advice is meaningless. It's meaningless. Show, not tell. Basic writing 101. Show, not tell. Now, if you grab the editor, they could have fixed this. They could have helped you. Even if it's just re-scripting this book to make things make sense and not make this Aaron guy a jack of all advanced trades. And he doesn't seem like the smartest cookie in the world, but apparently he is. You have to do better. Hopefully with your next project, we'll see. But taking a passive-aggressive stance and making excuses why this book sucked, it's not the way to go. Overall, 1 to 10, I get the entity, let's give it a 4. I mean, mainly because there's a lot of pages. I'll give it a 4. It wasn't a quick read. It just wasn't a good read. So, final score, 4 out of 10. Good effort. Bad advice because you didn't follow your own advice. I'll see you in the next video.